right, welcome everybody to the VIP session. If you have a time constraint, so you need to hop off by a certain time, just please let me know in the chat so that I can come to you first. For those of you who didn't make it yesterday, this is more of an open session for you to ask questions. I will come around and check in with each person as well once we open it up for questions about what we talked about yesterday or today, and we'll go from there. So if nobody has any time constraints, we will, Amy is, let me just open it up in general. Does anybody have any questions, comments, aha moments that they want to share? You can just unmute yourself if you do. No one? All right. Well, we'll come around and check in with each of you. So we'll go Amy, then Carolyn. You two are the first on my screen. So we'll go Amy, then Carolyn, and then I'll tell you all the order that will go in from there. So go ahead and unmute yourself, Amy. Any questions, comments, aha moments from today? Anything really stand out for you in terms of where you've been getting stuck?
It just takes me a while to process through all this stuff before I can create questions or think of things. I know a lot of the things that you were talking about today, made sense, and it's great to hear them again so it sticks. Just going back, I guess, to that whole that comfort zone, that dysregulation that you always try to stay out of, and kind of how it takes you to the panic and then back to the comfort, and then building up that nervous system, kind of resetting that so that you can make more room and feel more comfortable when you are just regulated is what I'm kind of excited to learn more about.
Cool, awesome. Any questions from today's session or yesterday's session for you?
No, not at this time. I'm doing the mini mind, so I don't know. It's kind of like going between two classes right now. I'm trying to, keep up. So not at this moment. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, Carolyn's up next, and then we'll go to Leela.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, it was interesting that the growth zone and the panic zone, I've heard it a little bit differently in the past, but the same idea. And I feel like since I started my business a couple of years ago after being an in-house leader and knowing what I was doing, so to speak, it feels like everything I try to do is new and feels like a lot of it feels like the panic zone because it's so new and I'm trying to figure things out on my own. So yeah, I'm interested to know more about how to stay in the growth zone where I'm happy to be, right? I don't mind learning and growing. I'm not someone who likes to sit in the comfort zone. I want to continue to learn and grow and do new things, but panic zone is all too familiar lately. So that really resonated.
Okay. So on Thursday, we're going to go deeper into the exercises. If you haven't had a chance to go through the 7 nervous system reset exercises in the school community, don't get stressed out. I'm going to show you each of them on Thursday. So we're going to go through them here on Thursday. And with that, sorry, just lost my train of thought. So we're going to go through those exercises. With those exercises, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? The more that you use them and create a routine for yourself, which we'll be doing for each of you. Oh, that's not the right button. There we go. On Thursday's VIP session, we're going to make sure each of you has a specific routine that you're going to use. And that's basically going to be like your nervous system gym. Now, your routine, you're going to have one that's no longer than 10 minutes because I know time is a major factor for people, right? So we're going to create one for you that's 10 minutes. You'll also have one that, you know, if you're like, ooh, I have an hour today, I can spend an hour on self-care, then you can always expand it. But I want to give you one that you're going to be able to do anywhere you are, regardless of what's going on. So you'll have that routine. It's like the gym, right? The more that you go, the easier it is for you to come back to, and the easier it is for you to navigate the panic zone. Okay? Just 1 second. Somebody's having issues getting in. Okay, so when, like I said on the call, we get stuck in the panic zone when the baggage is full, right? So we also want to have strategies to lower what we're holding on to and carrying every single day, so that when we do go to take those steps, it becomes easier. Now, what I'm guessing is, and you can put a 1 in the chat for those who are listening, if this has been you, is it's like it feels like you're always doing this dance. Like you'll take a step that's outside of your comfort zone, and then you feel so burnt out, you like need to like rest and recover from taking that step, and then you're not getting to take a whole lot of steps, right? That's a major sign that what you're carrying is a lot, right? There's a lot there for you. So the more that we empty this out, the less you're going to be doing this seesaw dance of like, okay, now I'm dysregulated and burnt out and I need to take some time off. And then you spend like 3 to 6 months recovering. And so it's like you're only taking like 2 big steps a year when you know that you're capable of more of that and you want to take more than that, but you can't. So the more that we can empty those things out, the better. And on Friday, we're going to do a breathwork session where we're going to start releasing some of the old survival energy. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go Leela and then Kelsey. So go ahead, Leela. And please tell me if I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, you are Leela.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
I always get in my head, I'm like, is it Leela? Is it Layla? I just need to make myself a note of which one it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, well, of course, a lot resonates, but especially this cup, because, I have like a ton of front forward energy, and then I just get really worn out. I mean, what you just described is something I identify with a lot. And yeah, just this weight, I think the baggage that you're talking about, that cup, the trash can actually being full. I'm very, very interested in all the down regulating of the nervous system. And I guess I'm not surprised, but it's just astonishing how that can stop a person from forward momentum.
Yeah. And so we'll go into it a lot more tomorrow, but I would say most people who procrastinate are stuck in what we call a functional freeze, right? So they are so far pushed into this this survival mode pattern or this survival mode place that they're in the functional freeze. And so then it's like, well, I want to take more action, but I physically can't. Again, we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but we actually have what's known as a quitting circuit in the mind. And when we get to a certain threshold, the quitting circuit is activated and we lose the ability to move, right? So a lot of people who have experienced like sexual assault or any form of sexual or even physical abuse, they're like, but I couldn't fight back. I just found myself like, I couldn't fight back. Sometimes people will start to go into like this blame and shame of like, well, maybe I did want it because I didn't fight back, but it's that you physically can't, right? And so we can go into a physical freeze where we like physically can't move, How many of you, give me a 2 in the chat, when you get to that burnout phase, you're like, I can't even get out of bed. Like, I like getting dressed or taking a shower is just so much energy that I just can't do it, right? So that's the physical side of the freeze. The mental side of the freeze is like I just want to do something brainless. And unfortunately, social media then kind of comes in and hooks us into that. So you'll see tomorrow why we can't just go from like freeze to good again. There's a process that we have to move through. But the nervous system regulation tools, again, if you're using them consistently, the goal is to do your 10-minute routine every single day. And if you're using them consistently, then we're able to get out of that fight, flight, freeze, fawn a lot faster. But if we've been there for years or decades, then it's going to take a little bit of time. So the sooner we get started, the better. Okay. All right, we'll go Kelsey and then Lindsay.
Hi, I have really bad service, so hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Perfect. So first, I'll say that I have worked with a nervous system coach in depth, and it totally changed my life. And I made 5 times the money and worked half the hours. So I totally recommend everyone do it. But I have been in the most dysregulating season, going through separation, and you sometimes just can't coach yourself and
Yeah.
get stuck. So I am have a VIP day on Thursday for business, and I'm having a really hard time getting clarity. And like I keep like almost crying when I talk to people because there's just like so much stuck energy still. So I would love your advice on like what I can do in the next couple of days to move into a place where I can be more regulated and clear.
It's this Thursday.
Yeah.
So there's an exercise in module 2 in the school community called Shake It Out. So when we have these big emotions that come up, this big energy, right? There's 2 ways that we can navigate it and move through it. One is to burn it off, and one is to soothe it. And we don't always know, like sometimes you have to try one and then be like, yes or no, this is right for me or it's not. So the burning it off is like the movement, right? So that's where, people will go to the gym and they'll put themselves through a challenging workout, they'll burn it off. They'll use, you can really set the intention to use that energy as a fuel for the workout. Things like the dance party, or the Shake It Out exercise that's in module 2, that's going to help release that emotion and that energy in the moment. And then the soothing is some of the other exercises that we have in there. You can also, do things depending on what's coming up for you. There's an exercise called the containment hug. So where you put one hand under your arm, put one hand on your shoulder and kind of squeeze, and then go the other way. The child's pose, if you're familiar with that in yoga, where you're basically curling into the fetal position on the ground, but face down as opposed to on your side, or even being in the fetal position and just, allowing yourself to cry, for example, can be a way to release. So do you feel like the burning it off is going to be a better strategy for soothing?
That's kind of why I'm frustrated, is because I've been doing all those things. Like I've been walking like crazy, like just to move my body. And I spent like hours meditating and crying last night, and like I just feel so heavy and brain foggy today.
Okay.
So I guess maybe I need to be just more gentler with myself.
And so it might be a case of that. So I'm going to do a quick exercise with you, if that's okay.
Thank you.
So take a couple nice deep breaths for me until you get a yawn, a sigh, or tingles down your spine. Let me know when you've got that.
I can't even get that right now.
Okay, you can or you can't.
I can't.
Okay, just keep going. So the other thing is like sometimes we're like, okay, well, I took a couple deep breaths and it's not coming. Like sometimes it can take 5 to 10 minutes and we can wait. I can come back if it's
Okay.
taking a minute. Do you want to work on that and I'll come back to you?
Yeah, that'll
Okay.
be good. Thanks.
So just put it in the chat when you have it and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so we'll come to Lindsay next, and then if Kelsey's still working, we'll come to Soumya after that. And you're muted, Lindsay, just so you know. All right, we'll come back to Lindsay, Soumya, and then Joanna after that.
Hi. So I for today, definitely just like the other lady was talking about the panic, and I definitely feel the panic and anxiety when I have to um position myself in some kind of different ways on social media that I wasn't doing until now. So I started something new about a month ago, and now I'm positioning myself in a different way. So that brings lots of anxiety, but I keep doing it. What I also noticed, that's from yesterday lesson, which was about the money thing. I realized today that the thought that comes through, that when I position myself different way, that I start talking about different things than I was doing until now, I feel that the people that know me are going to abandon me. And then I feel, okay, then I'm just constantly checking my post, my live. I'm not getting any likes, nobody commenting. They don't really like me. But if I post something that they kind of relate, that they know me by, suddenly there is lots of comments. So it really just playing up my mind.
Okay, so there's a couple options. Number one, you can create a social media that is not connected to family, right? Like have your business one and then don't have family there if there's the fear of like friends and family and the people who know you judging you by the things that you put on social media. You can also just let friends and family know like, hey, social media is now business for me. Like one thing I've told all my friends and family is this is like, I don't use it to keep in touch with people. I use it 100% for social media. So if you don't like what I'm posting, it's totally okay for you to unfriend me there and we can have a relationship not on social media, but I'm going to be posting things relating to business and to help me generate leads for business. Because I had a similar experience when I started sharing my story of being abused by my stepmom. My brothers and my parents were like, they got triggered by it. And I was like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, you weren't the ones who abused me. So, I understand that there can be some stuff around like, well, we didn't know this was happening and whatnot, but I'm not going to stop sharing my story because it makes you feel uncomfortable that you didn't know, right? So that's one option, right?
Okay.
And the other option is, and we'll be doing some work on this in Wealth Rewire in the coming weeks, is working on the core childhood wounds, specifically the rejection or the abandonment, whichever one of those you feel is what's coming up for you, so that stops being the forefront. Keep in mind as well, when we're in the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, we become more focused on the negative as a survival mechanism, right? Like we become more aware of the things that could harm us or hurt us than all the good going on. So I would also encourage you to really focus in, and social media kind of gives people, it's kind of weird, like, if one person, likes your post, that means it's impacted them in some way, right? And like person to person, if I can just have impact on one person's life, like that's a pretty good day. But then on social media, we're like, only one person liked my post. You know, I'm not very good at this. But we all have
Mhm.
to start somewhere, right? And so when we start, instead of going, well, only one person liked my post, so I'm not very good at this, nobody likes me, blah, blah, blah. What if we start switching that to, I had an impact, a positive impact on somebody's life today. And I'm just going to be grateful for that, right? Because what we focus on expands, and then that brings in more of that energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right. So, Kelsey, coming back to you.
Yeah.
All right. So, just answering with the first thing that pops into your head for me. What's the purpose of holding on to this old energy and not being able to release it? Even if the answer doesn't make sense, what was the first thing that popped into your head?
Staying confused.
Okay. And what's the purpose of staying confused?
Can't figure out how to do anything different.
Not, did you say not doing anything different?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the purpose of not doing anything different?
Staying safe.
Sorry?
Staying safe.
Okay. And what's the purpose of staying safe?
Staying alive.
Okay. And so
Avoiding pain.
what was after staying alive?
Avoiding pain.
Avoiding pain? Did you say pain or change?
Yeah, pain. Well, that
Okay.
too.
So what would happen if you let go of this old energy?
I don't know.
What was it?
I don't know.
Okay, so just take a nice deep breath and just asking your unconscious mind again, even if it doesn't make any sense, what would happen if you just let go of this old energy?
There'd be space for something new.
What would happen if there was space for something new?
I could create something new.
Did you say create something new?
Yeah.
Okay. What would happen if you got clarity for this VIP day?
And I would have to take action to do something different.
Okay. What would happen if you had to take action?
Probably wouldn't be able to.
You would what, sorry?
I wouldn't be able to.
You wouldn't be able to?
Right.
Why wouldn't you be able to?
If you never can.
Why wouldn't you be able to?
Because I can't.
You can't because of the season of life that you're in?
No, I just never can. I never do.
Okay. So, do you have a belief that because you haven't in the past, you won't be able to in the future?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have a lack of trust in yourself?
Yeah. I get overwhelmed.
Are you overwhelmed by the lack of trust in yourself?
Um, so overwhelmed by all the responsibilities and having to take action.
Okay. Is there anything on your responsibilities list that you could delegate to somebody else?
And it's not about the time. I have the time. I just have a hard time actually doing anything.
You have the time, but what was it?
I have a hard time actually like doing anything, like actually starting procrastination inside here. Sorry, I don't know why my volume's so bad. Can
No,
you hear me?
you're just kind of cutting out a little bit, that's all. So you have the time, but and then I didn't really hear what came after that.
I have the time, but I just have a hard time starting. So I can do things that are like reactive that are required of me when there's a deadline or someone needs something from me. But if it's like me starting a task or a project, I get really frozen.
Okay. So you have an easy time. This is why. Two things. Number one, you have an easy time taking action when it's required or when there's a deadline, because then survival comes into play. So right now you need survival energy to move you. Yesterday we talked about there's two types of motivation. There's moving away from pain and there's moving towards something that inspires you. So it sounds like your strategy up until now has been you need the pain of like missing a deadline, et cetera, to push you to take action. And then when you don't have that, then you find it challenging to take action because there's either not a big goal or vision that inspires you, or you don't trust the big goal and vision. That could be you don't trust that it'll happen, you don't trust yourself to make it happen, etc. And then I would say the other piece of that, and we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, is that your nervous system and your body, its default mode is the stress addiction. And so
Right. Yeah.
you create, and entrepreneurs are great at this. I always say that entrepreneurs are both the arsonist and the firefighter, because they set the fire that they then have to put out, because that's where they get
Right.
like a sense of importance and a sense of taking action. So what we need to do is we need to recalibrate you so that you trust yourself to not repeat old patterns from the past, and two, recalibrate your system so that it doesn't need the survival energy to push you to take action.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I really saw healing in a couple of years ago and saw big growth last year. But I guess this season just hasn't.
Okay, so
Really
is it the season of life that caused you to come back into dysregulation, or did you stop doing the things that worked for you in the past? Or a combo?
probably a little bit of both, but no, I mean, like I'm doing a lot of like I'm doing not much. Like I've barely been working the last 3 months, and I've been just enjoying life and all the nice things of yoga and saunas and walking and sunshine, breath work and meditation. Like I should be okay.
Okay, so so we're either bumping up against a ceiling if like
I
life
think
has,
it's circumstance. I mean, I don't know where I'm living.
you don't normally what, sorry?
I think it's the circumstances, like everything, literally everything is up there. Like my finances, my I don't know where I'm living, like my marriage, all of it. So I think it's the circumstances of just everything being
Okay,
chaotic.
did you say you're going through a separation?
Yeah,
Okay, so even though like you're getting the sunshine and everything else, that's the piece that's dysregulating you,
right.
right? That's the piece keeping you in survival. So because that creates so many unknowns, what I would love for you to sit with tonight is, and I'm not sure if you saw yesterday when I talked about the 5 core childhood wounds. If not, check out the replay. It was towards the end of yesterday's session. But are any of those 5 core childhood wounds being triggered for you? Right? What do you believe, or what have you been telling yourself about, your role in the separation, or what it means about you? And then we can start to look at where we can let go of some old belief systems and things like that, to help you get back to a regulated place.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
my pleasure. Okay, so we will go Joanna and then Peter.
Um, I something that's just come up in this VIP session is the cup that you need to empty, is that just doing the nervous system exercises, or do you need to actually release the anger, release the guilt and shame by feeling it and letting it go? I'm just a little unclear on that.
Yeah, so the whole rise method helps you, the deeper into rise that you go, the more empty your cup gets, so to speak. Each step is gonna release more and more of it for you.
Right. So the nervous system exercises give you the capacity to do that releasing.
Yeah, so like the nervous system reset is gonna start creating space for you, right? And then the inner child healing, the belief systems, et cetera, et cetera. So that said, we can only release emotions by feeling them.
Right.
What tends to happen is I was talking to a client about this the other day who messaged me and they were like, I've been drinking a lot lately and I know that I'm numbing, but I have so much grief. They've had a lot of loss in their life recently. And so they're like, but the grief just feels so overwhelming and it feels like it's going to last forever. And when you're numbing, it does feel like it's lasting forever. And it almost creates this like false, what's the word? False validation that it will last forever. Because it's like, oh, well, I drank yesterday, but now this emotion is here again today. So now I need to drink again, right? But if we actually allow ourselves the time and the space to feel without feeling the need to numb or move away from it, the emotion moves through at a fairly quick pace. And then, there might be like lingering little pieces of it, but it's not enduring, right? But if we're constantly numbing, when we numb and when we suppress, it's like we're holding the beach ball underwater. And if you're holding the beach ball underwater, you have to keep holding it underwater, right? Because as soon as you like get distracted or like you go to scratch your head or whatever, there's more of a chance of that beach ball coming up and slapping you in the face. And so it's like, well, we're always having to use energy, but now the beach ball is turning into like 2 and then 4 and then 8 because we just keep shoving down. And so it keeps feeling like it's more and more overwhelming. So yes, feeling your emotions is going to let it go. This is what we're working on in our one-on-one sessions together, right? Because you're doing one-on-one with me right now, is we're going through that inner child healing and we're releasing the old so that it's not, so that you're creating more space in that tank.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you guys all shuffled around on my screen. Did I say Peter was next? Okay, Peter and then Brenda.
Hi, Tiffany. I know I mentioned this, I think, in the community chat, but I do go to therapy once a week, and I started seeing a new therapist in June, and we started to get into a little bit with procrastination, and she outright said to me, "Oh, that's a scheduling problem and motivation problem." She basically refused to even go down the road of looking at any childhood memories or wounds that there could be. Is it really time to look for another therapist? Or just send her your information?
So my challenge with talk therapy is that it only works at a conscious level. It only works with the 4% of the mind. So it's really great for helping us logically understand why we might have certain emotions, but it doesn't actually do anything to release them, right?
Right.
They also, if somebody stops their training, a therapist stops their training at the talk therapy level, then they don't actually have the tools to take you deeper. So that's when they're going to say things like, oh, well, it's, a scheduling issue or a motivation issue, because they don't have the tools to go deeper with you. So, I mean, if you're paying for it, you have to decide if that's a good investment. I don't know if you're paying for it or if insurance is,
It's
but
insurance.
Is that a good investment of your time if you're not getting what you need, right? And would that time be better spent using the tools that we've got for you here? And now you have access to the all access pass really going into those tools and making the lifestyle changes, using that time to build back self-trust as well. Because once you move into that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and you've been there for a while, it's likely that you don't have a lot of trust for yourself. And so that's what I was saying with Kelsey. Like, if you're like, well, in the past, I haven't shown up for myself, so what's going to be different this time? If you've ever said something like that, it's a signal that there's some lack of trust. So would you be better spent using that time that you were originally going to be going to therapy 1 or 2 hours or whatever it is a week or a month, and using that to just really start building back that self-trust, regulating your nervous system, doing the other work so that you can move forward faster, would be my question for you.
It's interesting because she has said to me, "Oh, I think you need a more trauma-based therapy, like an EMDR or something like that." But
Yeah.
you know, she is ignoring everything else. So you mentioning about her experience, that's where I think I am with that as well. You know, she's just passing the buck, so to speak.
Yeah, so she just doesn't have the tools to take you deeper
Right,
herself. Yeah.
right. Okay, thank you.
All right, Brenda and then Allison.
Sorry, were you waiting for me, Tiff?
Yes, you are up now.
My Wi-Fi is giving me grief. I don't know if it's weather or what it is, but anyway, I was a couple of minutes entering the room, so I missed the question. So what is it that you'd like me to share?
So I'm just opening it up. Any questions, comments, aha moments from today's training?
I think it was really eye-opening to see that I've done a considerable amount of work with the identities, and I've really worked with my beliefs, and I'm really seeing that a lot of it is probably related more so to the core childhood wounds. That was kind of the big one last night when I think I had 5 out of the 6 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. We'll go into releasing some of that on Friday. So come the breathwork Friday, I would recommend that you set the intention to release, to start releasing some of the energy and emotion around the core childhood wounds. Pick one. Okay. All right. Allison and then Charusla.
Hi. Oh goodness. I don't think I have any questions. I mean, I really just so much of what you shared is, familiar to me because I've heard it from you before or in other places. I really feel like the purpose that I'm here is because there's just like a deeper work to do. I've made so much progress and I've come out of a really dark place last year, and
imagine this, you didn't find this
sorry.
video by accident. If you're watching,
I don't know what's going on here.
and have seen so much growth this year, but I do know that there's still things that are at work, in my subconscious, and my biggest struggle at this point isn't about getting work done in my business or taking action. It's more around like having boundaries in my relationships with family and then potential suitors.
Okay.
So, I'm single and I've embraced my singlehood, and yet I'm being invited to different levels of relationship that I'm not comfortable with, and I'm not comfortable saying I'm not comfortable with. And I know there's a problem with that. So with my, I know that I think there's a better way for me to do it for myself and for them. So.
Okay. So what I would sit with is, when you think about setting those boundaries, what are the thoughts, the belief systems, the identities that are really coming up for you? What's being triggered? Maybe it's a core childhood wound. And once we have that understanding, that same what's the purpose exercise that I took Kelsey through, you can do. Like, what's the purpose of feeling uncomfortable setting this boundary, or feeling whatever you feel? And then, what would happen if I set this boundary, and just seeing what comes out of that as you keep asking those questions over and over. And then that's kind of the root of where we need to work.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
cool, awesome. All right, Terusla and then Jacob.
Hi, Tiffany. Yeah, I think what I found really helpful from the session today was when you said, like the goal is not to avoid the dysregulation, but to kind of have more ability, I suppose, to like go in and out. And then, you know, the bit about the like the comfort zone and the panic zone, and actually like when we're going to take aligned actions, it's going to take us out of our comfort zone. Um, and I guess my question with that is like, I suppose how do we know is not quite the right question, but like, is it just a matter of building confidence when we take actions which maybe feel like a stretch or feel like they're taking it out of our comfort zone? And is there like a the second part of that would be like, is there like a helpful idea of like just like 10% out of your comfort zone, like don't do like a massive action that's going to put you into like high dysregulation because you won't be able to come back again, like how to kind of mediate that so that you keep increasing. I think that's what my thoughts are around this, like kind of increasing that nervous system ceiling for myself, and yet knowing that maybe if I push myself too far or do too big of a change too quickly, then maybe it would be hard for me to regulate if it's stressing me out all the time. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of where my thinking is.
Yeah, so great question. So I think it's either tomorrow or Thursday we're going to talk about the capacity check. And I'll come to you in a second, Lindsay. Tomorrow or Thursday we'll talk about the capacity check. So we can, firstly, when we go into that panic zone, we want to come back to the nervous system tools and use those to manage our way through it, right? So on the weekend, we had a challenge come up with a former client that was uncomfortable, you know, was pushed us into that panic zone, but both Sid and I were like, okay, we need to use our nervous system tools here. And we just came back to that to regulate ourselves to deal with the situation. Okay. Now, how big of a step you take outside of your comfort zone is going to depend on a couple things. Firstly, it's going to depend on what we call your nervous system flexibility, right? So the bigger steps that you take outside of your comfort zone, the bigger steps you feel comfortable taking. So I, for example, in the last 6 years have lived in 3 different countries and 3 different US states. So I make change fairly quickly. I can make big changes like that fast. However, when I was in my postpartum phase, my capacity was challenged, was reduced, so I couldn't make as much change during that time as fast. Right. So part of it's going to depend on like how used to making change your nervous system is, but then it's also going to come back to like, where is your current capacity at? And if your current capacity is already reduced because you've been sick or life circumstances, right? Maybe, you know, you are going through a life change, like having kids or having lost a loved one or something like that. That's going to change your capacity as well. So part of this process as well with the regulating the nervous system is becoming so deeply connected that we can check in with ourselves and say, here's the amount of change that I currently have the capacity to make, and then making change within that. Right. So this week, obviously, we're doing the challenge. It's at least 2 hours of training for me every single day on top of whatever clients I'm working with. We know that my capacity for this weekend is going to be reduced, and even into next week, right? The end of next week here in America, we've got Thanksgiving. So we have a fairly light week. Most of the days in my calendar were blocked off for next week because I knew my capacity was going to be reduced.
Mhm.
And so you'll also, as we talk about the capacity check later this week, I'll also talk about, you're going, as you have that deep sense of connection with yourself, you're also going to learn. Like I know when we run the Rapid Rewire in-person retreat, that takes a lot out of me.
Mhm.
That takes a lot out of me. And so I need time to recover after that. So you're going to start
Mhm.
to learn like, okay, there are certain things that really reduce my capacity and I need more recovery time after that, and other things where I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, did
Yeah.
that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I think I have that like uh like a real desire to increase, actually, especially that like that financial ceiling side, even though that's not like directly related to procrastination, but in a way it is for me, because it's like I have a little bit of money coming and I want to be able to use it in a wise way.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have that curiosity of just like how to keep that expansion going, so that my system doesn't just go like, oh, like quickly kick it out because it feels uncomfortable to have that in my space,
Yeah. Did you watch the Wealth Rewire replay from yesterday yet?
I was so tired today. I listened to it and fell asleep.
Okay.
So
we specifically talked about that yesterday, expanding the nervous system capacity related to money.
Right. Yeah. I'm good. I planned on doing it again tomorrow because I knocked out today when I was doing it. It's so good, but then I passed out.
Cool. Okay, so I am going to come.
Thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. I will get to everybody before we hop off, so I'll come to Lindsay. And yes, I will send you the link for Wealth Rewire as well.
Thank you.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so since I've just started this program, and even after the first call with you, there's kind of been some like fallout.
Okay.
Like, even like today, I don't know, I had a little bit of a conversation with my mom that turned into a fight and brought up some of this like abandonment wounds and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm wondering if doing the program and doing the sessions and all that kind of stuff, is there normally some kind of like fallout, or is it normally like you just make the like your brain rewires and there doesn't have to be this like transition, negative sadness, boiling over, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
situation, or how does that fit into the process at all, or is it just magically gone? Because that would be even better.
Yeah. So sometimes there is fallout. Everybody kind of responds differently. So think of it like your nervous system is a glass of water that has had dirt sitting in the bottom of it, right?
Mhm.
And it's been sitting there for a while. So it's all kind of settled down. The water might be a little bit murky, but for the most part, like all that sediment has settled to the bottom. Part of what we're doing is we're pouring water in to that cup, which is going to mix it all up, right? So it's going to kind of muddy everything. So this is where the nervous system tools in module 1 and 2 in the school community will come in handy, because when those conversations are coming up and those old wounds that maybe you weren't aware of in the past, but now you are, we can recognize them in the moment and be like, start setting the boundary of like, okay, I'm feeling really triggered right now. And so I'm just going to push pause on this conversation so that I don't say something that I might later regret, or something that leads to a bigger escalation of this situation. So I'm just going to push pause. I'm going to hop off. I'm going to go do some self-care. That's where you can reach out in Boxer and be like, hey, this is what's coming up. I need some support. And we can reframe or give you some tools in the moment to use to help navigate that. And yeah, so sometimes it does cause things to come up because we're bringing awareness. We're kind of like, learning about the abandonment wounds can start bringing it up in the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is only ever going to bring up things for you that it feels you're safe enough and ready to handle. So it can bring those triggers up so that they're sitting on the surface. And then if we don't deal with them right away, then, or there's a delay in dealing with them, then we can start projecting them onto others or allowing the emotions to take over for us. So if you have some time tonight, what I would recommend doing is checking out those nervous system reset tools in module 1 and 2. We will go through them again on Thursday, but if you're like, this is already, causing the poop to hit the fan, then go look at them tonight if you're able to, and then make sure you use Voxer. I added you to the Voxer group yesterday.
I feel like, well, the weird part, I guess, I don't know, and you'll know better, but I feel like I've done so much work around these things, like, dealing with some of these unconscious patterns and whatever. And it's like, then I just talked to my mom and somehow all of a sudden it's just so deeply triggered something that I didn't even see or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I thought I dealt with this already.
Yeah. So, let me show you, I'll draw out what's going on. Yeah, all right. So I want you to imagine that, can you guys see this whiteboard? Can you see this, Lindsay? You muted yourself again.
Sorry, I did. Yes,
Okay.
I could.
Okay. So imagine that this is you, right? You're this vessel, and we've got spirit. We've got spirit up here, and we've got body down here, and we've got mind over here, and we've got emotions over here. So what can happen is throughout our life, with all of the different experiences that we have, we create these, we have these imprints or these, events that happen, and they start to clog up the vessel, where it's like, now we have all this stuff filling all this space. And this also can be why manifestations aren't always working for people, because to manifest something, you have to bring it from the spirit to the body. But if you've got all this stuff cluttering, you have to get the exact right, like ping-pong movements, in order for it to come through. So when we start working through this stuff, we're essentially clearing out channels of this. So, in the previous work that you've done on mom, maybe you cleared out this channel, but you didn't clear out this one. Mm-hmm. And so this is the channel that's coming up for you, or the layer, if you want to use the onion analogy, that's coming up for you to be cleared now. So for example, when I started my healing journey and I started doing some work on my mom, what came up was like, my mom had intense anxiety when I was growing up. And so I remember her being there physically, but not really emotionally. And so I had like some abandonment stuff around, I don't really feel like you were ever there for me emotionally. Cleared all of that out. And what came up, like in the weeks that followed, in the months that followed, sometimes it'll come up right away. Sometimes it'll take some more time to come through. But it's like all of this like rage and anger from my mom came up, because she was, emotionally abused by my stepdad, and she sent me back into that situation. And it did not take a genius to figure out that on the weekends when I was with my biological dad and my stepmom, something was going on. I mean, it took 4 grown adults to peel me off the banister that I would wrap myself around at my parents' house and carry me to the car so that I would go on these weekends with my biological dad. I would come home and I would spit in my mom's face. So they obviously knew something was going on, but it was never addressed, right? And now as adults, we've talked about it, and I've obviously done a lot of work on the anger, and we've had conversations about how my mom didn't have the money to keep fighting him in court. But I had all this rage for like, I wasn't protected, right? So it might just be a different channel of stuff coming up with your mom now, that now you have the awareness of, this different wound or whatever, and you're ready to deal with that.
Ugh, I'm not ready. I literally hate my mom today. I'm like, never want to talk to you again.
Yeah, so take some space, use those exercises. We can do some emotional releasing stuff as well when you're ready. And then, the relationship will come back when you're ready.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, Dana and then Jacob.
Hi, everyone. Was I like an hour late to this? Because it's in Massachusetts, it's an hour later than Tennessee. So
No, you're the same time zone as Tennessee. So, because I'm in Eastern Tennessee. So 4 4 o'clock is when we do the challenge training, and then 5 o'clock is the VIP.
Oh, it's 5:52 there right now.
Yeah, yeah. So we're just uploading the replay now.
So the rest of the week, everything starts at 4 o'clock, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to the woman who was just talking, I'm not sure which one, about her mother. I just want to,
So in these sessions, it's an opportunity for you to be coached, but I'm going to be the only one coaching here.
okay. Let me see what I was going to ask you. Oh yeah, I had a situation last week where I attended 3 full-day conferences and I burned out so bad that I had a horrible day the next day. So I realize now that I can't do that anymore. Like maybe once a month. So I was cranky. I was telling people off. I hated the world. I was exhausted, because it was like, you do these conferences. So 2 days is enough in 1 week, or 2-day conference, but 3 days is just, I realized I can't do that to myself anymore, because it changes my behavior. And when I don't get enough sleep, I'm a totally different person. I mean, so anyway, but is that relevant to what you're talking about?
So like I was saying with Jerusalem, what you learned was that going to these conferences, and I'm the same way, it reduces your capacity. And so now you know what your capacity is. And so moving forward in the future, you can lean into your nervous system tools so that you're not, snapping at people, but also, 1 or 2 days is enough. I'm the same way. If I go to a conference, or even if whether we're attending or we're running one, like I need, we get the babysitter for our son as soon as we have an off day. Sid knows that I'm going to need some just me time, some space. It's not that I don't love him. It's that my capacity is reduced and I need to recharge my own battery.
Yeah. And then I started questioning, why am I doing these events all the time? And, why isn't my business growing? I started picking on myself because I'm so tired. And I do so much for other people. I really need to start doing for me. But anyway, thank you so much. Yeah. We need to learn the toxic people and the things that we do. They just need to learn I learned this year to get rid of people in my life toxic, and I need to learn to slow down so that I can function better, because I'm always going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. So the question that I would sit with for you is, what's the belief that keeps you constantly learning, or constantly, needing new tools instead of implementing, right? And so there's usually a belief system that drives that for entrepreneurs, where it's like, I need more information, more information, more information, and then we're never actually implementing and taking action.
Yeah, I'm spending all my time going to other people's conferences, learning, taking classes, but my business, it's like stuck. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not where I want it to be by any means whatsoever. Like, I probably made $30,000 this year, worked 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. It's in year 4. And I just can't get it off. Don't have, so I'm a solopreneur. So I'm doing the taxes, I'm doing the business cards, I'm doing the mailing list, I'm doing the Canva, I'm doing everything, but I'm not focusing on sales. So maybe the solution is to get a VA, I think.
It could be.
Yeah.
So with the VIP, you're also going to get access to the Wealth Rewire. So I'll make sure you have all the access to that, because that's where we're starting to reprogram money beliefs. So if you have beliefs like, I have to work hard to make money, then, you'll feel like you have to work 7 days a week to make 30 grand.
I mean, because like my husband is a breadwinner, and this is just, he calls it a hobby because I'm not making enough money doing what I'm doing. And I think my belief is that he takes care of me, so I don't need to make the money. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. So this is actually a common one for women whose husbands do well. And they're like, well, I don't need to add to the family, right? So then I should just help these people with the tools that I have. So what you need is a bigger vision for how that money can help you help more people.
Yeah, I'm often giving my time away for free and connecting everyone with the right people, because that's when I am master connector. I have my own women's business group of like 450 entrepreneurs. But I'm not helping. I need to start helping me grow my business.
Yeah. Yeah. So sit with that question of, what are those beliefs?
Limiting beliefs. Yeah.
Okay. All
Thank you.
right. Jacob and then Sonia and then Marilee.
I don't think I have anything. I only caught about the last 10 minutes of the live today. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it or just watch it. But yeah, just my only thing was like, I guess we are getting the wealth rewire up. I've got kind of a similar thing going on as Terusala. So that's great. I think that'll be really helpful for me. That's it. Hopefully I'll have something after I watch today's replay.
Awesome. Okay. Sonia and then Marilee.
Yeah, hi, Tiffany.
Hello.
Hi. I feel overwhelmed all the time.
Okay.
Like for me, it's very common that I cannot even get out of bed.
Okay.
Like I'm so overwhelmed. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. It's unbelievable.
Okay. So it sounds like you're in the freeze mode. So we need to create a plan for you, which we're going to do on Thursday. We're going to create a plan for you for regulating your nervous system. And sometimes when we're in that freeze mode, what we have to do is be okay just saying, to finish out this year or to finish out this month or for the next couple weeks, the most important thing for me to do, like obviously I have to cook dinner for myself and my family, or I have to go to my job. But other than that, I'm just creating space for myself to like heal, right? Sometimes we have to take a little bit of a step back so that we can go forward faster, right? So we'll create your plan on Thursday, and then we'll work on getting you out of that freeze mode, which is where we can also develop that like self-love, feeling comfortable in our skin, all of those things, so that we can take more action moving forward.
Yeah, because it's super hard
Yeah.
to do almost anything.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what I'll get you to start with today, because I don't want to just leave you hanging until Thursday, is I want you to look at, we've got 5.5 weeks left of this year. Obviously, there's Thanksgiving and Christmas in there. I want you to look at what you have coming up over the next 5.5 weeks and separate it into I have to do this, right? Like these are things that I can't say no to, that I absolutely like have to do. You're going to be tempted to say, well, this Christmas party, I have to go to it. Like, I want you to be brutal in cutting the things that you can. Okay. And then if I have the capacity, I'll do these things. But right now they're not a guarantee.
Okay.
Okay. So make that list. Here's all the things, and then separate them into, I absolutely have to do this. This is things like I have to go to work for, whatever days. I have to do these hours for my fractional CFO position. What I don't have to do right now is create content right now, right? We can agree that just for the rest of this year, the focus is not going to be on business growth. It's going to be on healing. Because if we're keep trying to force ourselves to grow in a healing time, right? It would be like me trying to make my tomatoes grow in my garden coming into winter. I'm kind of, pardon the language, but I'm pushing shit uphill, right? I'm just setting myself up for failure. So we don't expect the trees to be growing leaves right now. Sometimes we have to realize that we have to take, a momentary pause, step back, however you want to look at it, to heal so that we can go forward faster next year. And if there's ever a time that you can get away with pushing pause, it's this time of year.
Okay. Although I have quite a bit coming up.
Yeah, so look at what are the things you absolutely have to do, and what are the things that you can say, you know what, I can't do this. Or if it's like, I have to go to this family function, limit the time that you're there. Limit how much you commit to doing, right? Instead of being like, oh, I'm gonna do all of these things, be like, I'm coming for an hour and I'm not bringing a dish. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, beautiful. Any other questions from anybody before we wrap up for tonight? All right, so Sid is working on, oh, go ahead, Marilee.
Oh, hey, real quick. The replay for the core childhood wounds, was that in the training yesterday or the VIP session yesterday?
It was in the training, the main training session yesterday.
Okay.
So that one is already in the school community. Sid is about to upload day 2. So if you missed today, you can go back and watch that one. And then he will, this video obviously has to process in Zoom, and then he'll get that one up.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So everybody just remember the bonus session. Obviously all of you all are invited. Sorry, I'm in the kitchen. So I'm going to put that questionnaire in the chat. I'll just put it in right now. So make sure that you all come to that. Tiffany's going to be doing a lot more of, I guess intimate. Like it's going to be a lot more like, you know,
Yeah.
small. So it's going to be a lot more intimate in that session.
So tomorrow we'll have the main session at 4, VIP at 5, and then the bonus session at 6. Okay.
Now just put the link to the questionnaire in the chat.
Beautiful. And we'll also be sending an email shortly with that, and it'll be in the school community. So, all right. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? Beautiful. All right. Well, have a great evening. Love you all. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.